I'm Aiman, and welcome back to one of my auto repair videos. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to remove the alternator on a Honda CR-V 2013-2014. This may also apply to 2011 to 2016 because they're the same generation, but we're not totally sure. So the process is fairly simple, and we actually have a replacement alternator right here, so we'll do a separate video on how to install it. But before you start, there are two things you need to do. First, you need to disconnect the battery, and second, you need to take out the serpentine belt. Okay, so we're going to disconnect the battery, which is pretty easy. All you need is a 10mm, and you're going to disconnect the negative terminal. That's usually what's sufficient. All right, let's disconnect this cable harness, and then pull this out, and tuck it behind here. I'm gonna go under, so that's easier later. Alright, so after removing the battery, now we need to remove the serpentine belt. And we have a couple different methods to do it. I mean, pick your poison. Sometimes you can go with the serpentine belt tool. So you can see that this method doesn't work because as soon as we remove the belt and remove the tension, the serpentine belt remover is forced against this part right here, and we're unable to remove it. Some people I've seen use the daisy chain method, where you use a 15, you hook it on, and to get extra leverage, you put another bigger wrench on top and use that to pull down. In our case, we have an EZark zero offset wrench that should work, and if we need extra leverage, then we can put this bar on top of it. Now the problem with the EZark wrench like this, or if you have a stub socket, is that it doesn't give you enough room to slip the belt off. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to remove this bottom bracket that's blocking the belt on this on the bottom side, and then you can be able to slip it out from the bottom. And of course, to access that bracket, usually this is mounted on it. So all you would do is just pull it out, and then put it off to the side. But be careful because it can spill, so just make sure that it doesn't leak. So what we're going to do with that one is, there's a bolt here that's easily accessible with an extension, but this one's not so easily accessible. So we're going to use a wobbly bit to get access to it. Let me take my Milwaukee and attach it. These are number 10. So that's what the bolt looks like. Keep that safe. Same on this one. Second one, and save the bracket for later. Okay, so let's try using that method that I showed you. Of course, if you use the serpentine belt tool, you're not going to be able to slip the belt. I mean, you can slip the belt on the top, but it's not going to give you enough space on this side. Okay. All right. So we have it pushed back. Now we're just going to loop the belt out from the bottom. All right, and then slowly let go. Okay, so we're going to tuck the serpentine belt off to the side, and we're going to want to get access to alternator by flipping this pulley up. So in order to do that, we're going to loosen this bolt here and completely take out this one and then flip it up. It looks like we'll also have to take out this hose here, so I'll take that out right now using some pliers. Okay, so on this hose clamp, you just want to squeeze it and then bring it out here, and then you want to wiggle out the hose and set it aside somewhere where it won't interfere with our work. Okay. All right, So you can either use a socket or a spanner to take out these two bolts. They're 12mm. I would recommend using a socket just because it's much more easier. Okay, so we just need to loosen this enough so that I can rotate on it. But this one, we need to take out completely. Nope, looks like I can already take it out by hand. And so let me get my Milwaukee to make this a bit faster. Oh, or you can just do it by hand because it's actually fast. Okay. And so at this point, we should be able to flip this pulley up. Let's see. There we go. So now we have access to the alternator, and we'll take a look at the new alternator to figure out what we need to take out. So there are 5 connections. There are 3 main structural bolts that are holding it in place. 1, 2, 3. There's an electrical cable connected right here. And then there's a power cable also connected here as well. And so the first thing we're going to do is take out this electrical cable because it's easiest to access. In order to take this one out, we have to get the alternator actually taken out. So we actually need to take these 3 bolts out before we take out this connection. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is remove this connector here. And as you can see, there's a button on this side. Hasn't been pressed in a while, so it's kind of stuck. And so let me use my pliers. But you see right here, this button here, we'll try to clamp down on it. I'm trying to give you a good angle with it. There we go. You see that? The clip came out. Or it broke off. That's not good. Okay, so now we're going to remove the bolts. We're going to start at the bottom first. I mean, you could remove it from the top, but it should be easier to just take off the bottom guard here, which would require you to take out these fasteners. 1, 2, 3, 4. One of them is already not on. But you want to get a screwdriver under them and then take a pry tool and try to take them out. If you're adept enough, you can actually take it out with just a screwdriver. Alright, here we go. 1. So just use the pry tool specifically for this. And get it under there. Okay, so we're able to pry out the bottom shield here. You don't need to pry out the entire thing, just so that we can insert it into here. And it's kind of a difficult angle to insert, but you just want to use a socket and try to loosen the bottom 2 bolts from the bottom if you can't reach them from the top. Okay, so the way that this is going to work is if we look at the alternator here, you want to take a wobbly bit and a short bit, and you're going to see that it gives us just right angle to loosen the bolts. You might also have to tilt the wobble to the left or to the right to give you some extra space to return the wrench. So let me show you what that looks like in practice. So you can see that first off, we need to angle this to actually get under the alternator. Then we want to reach down with our hands and we need to get that bit onto the bolt. So feel around for that bolt. Once you've felt that bolt, you want to put the socket on. Okay, so now I have it, and now you want to loosen it, and you want to keep that extension in as you're loosening it. Oh, I don't hear any ratchets. Well, there we go. Okay. Yeah, there are a few other videos on how to take out the alternator, but most of the time you don't see them actually take out the alternator because of this angle, it's really hard to get any good video of it. Okay, and so by this point I can actually take out the bolt by hand. You'll notice that when I was taking out the ratchet, I didn't hear a lot of ratcheting at all, which means that it was already kind of loose. So I guess we just need to get an initial loosening from the bottom, and from the top it was just a bit easier. So that's what the bolt looks like. Pretty standard bolt. You also have to keep this because it looks like our new alternator didn't give us any replacement screws. I mean replacement bolts. Same thing on the right side. And we're going to speed this up. Okay. Alright, so that's what it looks like from the bottom angle. Slowly but steady. I think it might be loose enough to actually take out by hand, but let me just keep going up further. Alright, and so last step to do is to remove this final bolt up here. It may or may not fall, but I believe that there is a lip. So, let's see. Okay. Just to be careful, I don't want to ruin this hose here. I'm just going to push it from here. Okay. Okay, then I'll put it here. I might have enough space to use the Milwaukee, but the Milwaukee might just be thick enough that it keeps the bolt in. And if I'm right, this should be a pretty long bolt. Let's try using the Milwaukee. As I'm doing this, I'm going to hold on to it just in case there isn't a lip to support it. Okay, so it looks like it's loose right now. I'm going to pull this out and let's see what happens. Okay, so this is what the bolt looks like. It's very long, as you can see. Very short threads. I'm going to set that aside for now. You can see how it goes in. And right now you can see it's actually resting on a lip, so it's actually not going to fall yet. What we're going to do now is we're going to pull this to the side and we're going to pull out, oh my god, we're going to pull out that power cable that's connected to it. So first, just lift that gently. And let's see, can we finagle it in any way? Well, right now, as you can see, we can already access it. I'm not sure if I can get any more leeway to give you guys a better angle. But from what we're going to do here is this has a little cap on it that it's rubber that we're just going to peel back. With the cover peeled back, you're actually going to reveal a little bolt here. So you're going to, a little nut here that you're going to want to loosen with a 10mm socket. Okay, so another thing we can do to make this easier on ourselves, to make it a bit more manageable, is to pry out this little cable guide here, which I can't show you unless I shine a light on it. But you can try prying that out. In my case, I'm not sure if I have a good angle on it. But even if we can't take it out, this still should be a good enough angle for us to take out the 10mm bolt. We're gonna have to take this out anyway in order to replace it, so I can do that later. I'm just going to do the bolt now. Okay. So again, 10mm socket. they're not usually torqued this tight, and I don't want to try to turn it and cause this to move around in the inside the engine and damage other stuff. So keep a tight hold of it as you try to do this. Okay, so we finally got it in a secure enough position for me to just go ham on it and loosen it. Now I'm going to fully take it out. The way it's wedged in right now, I'm pretty confident even if we take out this nut, it's not going to fall down. Okay, and so now you can see that's what the nut looks like. This one we don't have to worry about in our case because we do have a replacement. So now we want to pull this out and rotate it so that we can take out the cable harness. I mean the cable guide right here, which might be kind of difficult. Let's see if I can get it on this side. This one's a bit too thin from this side. I might use a plier or a screwdriver. Alright, so it looks like it's actually easier to take out this bolt here that has a little bracket connected to the wire management. And so instead of taking out the zip tie, we're going to take out this bolt. And in retrospect, it might be easier to do this before you approach this plug. So that's an 8mm socket. So we're just going to loosen that. Might already be loose enough for me to do it by hand. Okay, and that's a nut. If you're curious where that goes on the new alternator, it goes with this little L-shaped cranny. It's the same comparable nut. Okay, so with that out of the way, we should be able to simply pull this off. Pull the cable off, I mean. And tuck it out of the way so that we have space to guide the alternator out. Okay, so I'm going to move this hose out of the way again, just in case. Okay. So let's lift this up. And if I notice anything as I'm doing this, I'll let you guys know. Any way I can make this easier. Okay, so right now, I'm going to bring it up as high as possible. Then I'm going to swing it towards the passenger side. And that allows me to fully pull it up. At this point, we're almost home. We're just going to squeeze it in between the low pressure pipe and this wire here and pull it out. And now we have the alternator fully removed. Before I close off this video, I want to talk about this cable here. You recall that when I took it out, we broke it, and you can see that this is the part that snapped off. And again, I mean, the way that we did it is proper. You're supposed to push down on it, and that causes a lever to go, it causes this lever to release. And if we look at the alternator, you know, if you push down on this, it gets unhooked from that little tab here, and it's able to pull out. The reason that it broke for us is that it was kind of brittle. I guess this is a very old car. What we'll probably have to do is end up taping it or figuring out another way to keep it secure, because you don't want this to get dislodged because it's connected to the alternator, which is pretty important. But anyway, that's all for this video. In my next video, I'm going to show you guys how to install the new alternator. So go check that out. I'm Aiman, and thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and look at other videos on EyeOnAiman. And I'll see you in the next one. For now, signing out.